Fresh Outlook. Hello to all of our viewers in the U.S. and abroad on this first weekend of winter. I'm Mia Toski. We have a busy show for you today. We're going to start things off with the National Security Agency. Yes, they're back making headlines this week after it was discovered that documents released by whistleblower Edward Snowden revealed that the NSA paid $10 million to the security firm RSA to implement intentionally flawed encryption. What's it all mean? Well, we'll break it all down for you. We'll also talk budgets and the bipartisan budget approved by Congress this week. Is this a hopeful sign that lawmakers might get along in 2014? And there is fury and frustration over the Target data theft. The second largest credit card breach in U.S. history affects 40 million card users. We'll talk about how this happened and what's being done to fix the problem. And we'll round off the show with a show of its own in North Korea and Russia. But first, as part of a campaign to embed software that could be used to crack into computers, the U.S. National Security Agency arranged a secret $10 million contract with RSA, one of the most influential firms in the computer security industry. Sounds like something out of a Hollywood spy movie. So why are these findings so important? Let's take a look.
A judge has ruled the U.S. government's gathering of Americans' phone records is probably unlawful. District Court Judge Richard Leon ordered the suspension of the collection of data on 2 phone company customers who sued the Obama administration. In his written opinion, the judge said that the government's program likely violated Americans' right to be free of unreasonable searches. The ruling marks a significant challenge to U.S. spying authority.
These programs are being challenged in front of a regular federal judge, with both sides arguing that they've been ruled unconstitutional.
Trevor Tim, with the California-based digital rights group Electronic Frontier Foundation, praised the decision.
But it's a huge step forward as far as privacy is concerned, and really underscores the fact that this type of surveillance, which the government has been saying is legal, is actually unconstitutional.
The administration has defended the surveillance program as a crucial line of defense. The Justice Department is reviewing the ruling and said in a statement, quote, "We believe the program is constitutional as previous judges have found." In June, the British newspaper The Guardian reported that a U.S. surveillance court had secretly approved the collection of millions of raw daily phone records after former National Security Agency contractor Edward Snowden leaked the program.
More about the high-tech stakes, bribery, espionage, and more. We are joined by former White House aide Didi Benke, media analyst Jackie Guzda, and Dr. Michael McCoy from Rutgers University. Thanks so much for coming in, everybody. All right, the question that we have asked ourselves many times over the last couple of months, is this legal or unconstitutional? We're going to start off with you, Jackie.
That's the big push and pull, isn't it? That's what we're having this conversation about. Intrinsically, what we're talking about is how much of our personal privacy are we willing to give up for security? I like the fact that this is going back and forth because both are important, but to draw the line anywhere right now, we haven't had enough conversation about it.
But answer the question.
I'm taking the fifth on that one.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
We'll start things off like that. Dr. McCoy, what do you think?
I'm stunned if this is legal. I mean, I think if the idea that the NSA can actually sell encryption data that they can purposely corrupt and violate and get people's personal information, if that's legal, and again, I can't answer that question. I don't know the answer to the question. But if it's illegal, if it is legal, I'm shocked, and Congress should be on that in a second to pass a law that says, you know, you can't have software that violates our personal information.
And just taking the temperature on a personal level, how do you feel?
I think that pretty much captured how I feel on a personal level.
Well, I mean, but you're saying if you would be shocked if it was legal, but I'm saying on a personal level, how do you feel about your own personal information?
Well, I mean, I accept the fact that we live in a digital age, and that when you put your credit card information on the internet, you're putting it out there, someone could take it, and I accept that reality of the world we live in. However, the idea that the government is taking upon itself to say, I'm going to steal your, I'm granting myself the liberty to take your personal information. that is unsettling to me on a personal level, and I feel that it should be illegal.
Okay, and Dee Dee?
Well, you know, it's such a frontier right now. It really is digital media now. I mean, I think that the government is way, way, way behind when it comes to our personal security. However, I think they're overstepping when they're talking on the spying of people here in a country that there's no reason to spy. Have no problem with it whenever there's chatter. It looks like there might be a terrorist, there might be a threat. Fine. But you know what? They've got this big net that they're dragging through, and it's including all of us, and I don't think that's good. So for me personally, no, I don't like it one bit.
And of course, the White House, of course, President Obama coming out with a statement saying there must be checks and balances in this case that they were paid $10 million. And he called any NSA efforts to do so and undermine security. He called that a threat as well. So what do you think will come about this week?
Well, first and foremost, James Clapper basically lied to the Senate. This is a big deal. James Clapper lied. I mean, so it's like, first we need to have truthful testimony from the NSA. Hello. So that right there, it's like we really have to take a look and make sure that, you know, we're being told the truth. You know, and that's a federal offense. So we'll see what happens there. But you've got 7 Republicans that are coming down on him very hard. So hopefully this will sort of open up some situations that should not be going on, and it'll be fixed.
Well, that makes a great case for Edward Snowden.
No, I knew you were going to go there.
It does.
You know, have fun with the traitor, but it does not make a good case
Let's
for it.
call him
That's
a
James Clapper.
whistleblower.
No.
You know that I'm not completely behind Snowden.
You know what? I don't know
However,
why you keep trumpeting Snowden. He's not a hero. It's disgusting.
No, what I'm saying is that if you are so concerned about the lies that James Clapper told,
I am.
well, then somebody like Snowden is the antidote to
No.
that.
Well, oh my God.
Let's talk about Snowden, since you did bring him up. Obviously, he was named the second person of the year, right behind the Pope last week. What were your thoughts on that, Dr. McCoy?
I mean, I think that was exactly right. I was personally, just from an impact standpoint, I was actually a little bit pulling for Snowden for Person of the Year. I'm a strong admirer of the Pope, and I have no problem that he got Person of the Year. But I feel like Edward Snowden has so radically changed both our domestic political and our international political conversation of this year. I really do believe, in terms of impact, whether we want to call him a hero or a villain or a traitor, but the fact that we're actually debating that. I mean, and this is, before this guy is, and I don't mean this as a negative, this guy is a nobody. I mean, the Pope holds one of those highest positions in the world. This is just an, almost entry-level position. He's changed global politics. I mean,
it's an interesting point. I mean, that's a very interesting point.
No, I don't give him that much credit. I think he's a loser. And, and I think
And we're talking about him right now.
Unfortunately, I wish
we're
we
talking about it
weren't.
right now. A story breaking this weekend. Again, how many stories have broken because of Edward Snowden?
I know, but
he's actually disrupted U.S. relations
so we shouldn't keep trumpeting him, and it would have been a shame.
He's actually disrupted our relations with Europe. I mean, with our major allies. This one guy. I mean, it's really amazing.
Well, I'm very happy the Pope was the person of the year, because if Ben Snowden, I think that would have been a huge shame and
Well, I
terrible.
want to talk about 150,000 people. I know you're not one of them, Dee Dee. Have signed a petition to pardon Edward Snowden. Now, the question that I pose to all of you: should President Obama do so? Jackie, we'll start with you.
I'm taking the fifth on this, but I
Well, then, Jackie,
I at least respect you for being consistent.
I don't think we have enough information yet. It's not an either-or issue yet. We need to know more. He's got to come back here. We've got to find out what other information he has, because he said that we've only put out the tip of the iceberg.
Well,
with that.
just as we're seeing right this week with the RSA, so we're going to see new revelations coming out probably on each week and each month as the 2014 year continues.
So my take on this is that he has something we want. We've got something he wants, which is the ability to come back to the States and live a normal life. I think instead of saying he's a bad guy or a good guy, what we should do is bargain with each other.
I'm not asking if he's a bad guy or a good guy. I'm going to go back to the question, should Obama pardon him? So I'm going to go to Dr. McCoy.
So my initial answer was going to be no. But I actually sort of like what Jackie said there, what Jackie was saying, which is basically pardon is a bargaining chip, and we don't know how much information he has. So strategically, it might be smart for Obama to hold off. Having said, or put that offer out there. Having said that, no, I don't think he should pardon him, because I think as much as I'm glad for some of the information that we now know, I just think the precedent that would set and how much that would destabilize our security apparatus, I think it's a bad idea. And the way Snowden has handled this. I mean, he ran to China and then he ran to Russia. Again, I think the impact he has had is amazing. But I'm uncomfortable saying this should get a pardon.
And I think that that's probably. I think Obama has also taken your stance, Jackie. He's kind of taken the fifth every time he's asked the question. He avoids
talking
it
about
completely.
the weather.
No, he has been. So when a lot of the reporters have asked him, but it's an interesting point. What kind of precedent would it set if he were to pardon him? And Dee Dee, I'll let you.
It'd be terrible. I mean, you don't reward bad behavior. You don't negotiate with a terrorist. And he is an enemy of the state. Look what he's done. He's weakened our country. He should be sent to Gitmo. He should not be rewarded in any way whatsoever.
So obviously
Definitely
he should not be sent to Gitmo. But I do believe it would, and I think it also demoralize a lot of our regular people who are working in our national security infrastructure, who are just regular people doing a good job. It will sort of demoralize them to know that the president is essentially condoning, we'll just call it bad behavior. I mean, whether it's traitorous or not, I'm with Jackie. I'm going to take a fifth on that one. But it's certainly not behavior we want to encourage. I almost feel like we're talking about children now. But yeah, I think it would have a demoralizing
we
effect.
have to punish behavior like this because it hurts our country. I mean, it should really, and I think that's why Obama doesn't say a word, because he knows that that's the right thing to do.
No, you had it right. Things are bad in the NSA and things have got to change. He has some bargaining chips with us to change things. And I think we should look at it on that level, not whether he's a bad guy or a good guy.
But
Let's go back to the NSA for a moment. And I think we all probably pretty much agree the NSA has gone too far. And what should Obama do in 2014?
Well, first of all, they're looking at metadata. Most people are afraid of the fact that they're listening into our phone calls, looking at our emails. That is not literally what's happening. They're taking these communications and they're looking at the patterns just in case there is some foreign communication that leads to a terrorist strike on this country. That is what is actually happening. So that, I think, is what you have to say is against our privacy. We have to weigh those two things. Now, are we willing to do that? It has been said this week that there's so much information that the NSA is looking at that they can't handle it all. It is actually hindering their efforts to keep us safe.
Yeah, which is why they shouldn't do it that way, which is why they shouldn't take everything, all personal information, who knows what it is, pictures, love letters, I mean, they're taking everything. So yeah, you're right, Jackie, I mean, it is overwhelming to them, and it's not the right way to do it. I think they're doing it backwards. They really need to target problems, and not what they're just taking. They're taking all information, and then if something looks suspicious, that's not the right way to go about it.
Yeah, I think we're still living in the overzeal of post 9/11, and I think it's time to sort of step back where we're at. And there's recently a commission just this week, the Liberty and Security Commission, came out with a series of recommendations that were good. That, for instance, let phone companies keep their own records, and the NSA can specifically go to the phone companies and say, here's our legal request for this particular information, and that can be adjudicated.
And some have to get a court order. Did you know that? Some phone companies have to get a court order, but others you don't, which I think is very weird.
And that's why it again needs to be sort of standardized.
Yes.
Another call was for, if you're going to spy on a foreign leader, that's not going to be decided by the NSA bureaucrat anymore, but actually the President of the United States. So that when we find out the NSA is tapping the phone of one of our allies, you don't have the President of the United States standing up there saying, oops,
I didn't know this happened. Right.
That's not good.
I mean, that's embarrassing on multiple levels. So I think there's
absolutely.
a series of recommendations that it looks like the President's actually going to endorse that I think will help settle this issue.
I think it's too unilateral. I mean, there needs to be more checks and balances. That's the big problem.
I think
it's been unilateral for a really long time.
Yeah, I think obviously this is a new frontier as well. I think a lot of folks call this the Wild West, if you will, because it's really unexplored territory. So, but I'll just pose one last question. Just as a prediction for 2014, do you think that Edward Snowden will be pardoned? That's my last question before we take a quick break.
I hope not.
No.
That would be awful.
No.
So we've got 2 no's? Okay, 2 no's and
No.
No, okay, 3 no's, 3 no's. All right, well, we're going to come right back and talk more. Don't go away, everyone. When we do come back, we will talk about an early Christmas present for the president, bipartisan budget that passed in the House this week.